So what is the VC here? Coming back at you with another about anything and everything. Nothing's off the table. I'm always off the cuff. Let me refresh this. There we go. So yeah, this is where it's at here. Subscribe to the bell icon that we can stay on top of daily videos. I try to do at least daily videos here. In a non-crypto way, because I do crypto also. Alright, so you can see me on Rumble. Follow me on Rumble. You could also subscribe to me on YouTube. Either way, I greatly appreciate it. So with that, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, about anything and everything, common sense, right? All that good stuff. Stuff that's worthwhile to talk about, you know. So a couple things come to mind. Something I've been wanting to talk about has been the Menendez brothers, since they've been making recent headlines over the last several months, but more recently, since the DA in LA got ousted, right? Which was Gascon, George Gascon, alright? Soft, super soft when it comes to crime and just the way he prosecutes and all that. And since we're talking about Menendez brothers, another one that's kind of been making recent headlines because he's in the midst of trying to, I guess, yet again, order a new trial or get a new trial ordered. Scott Peterson. All right, both Menendez brothers and Scott Peterson are both housed in California state prisons, right? And so I thought it'd be worthwhile to kind of talk about a little bit of both, you know, in this segment here. Alright, so we all know, I'm not going to go through the whole story about the Menendez brothers, but basically they killed their parents, right? They shotgunned their parents. They're known for shotgunning their parents, right? Supposedly they had some sort of dispute. They plotted and, you know, you can see how they were young right here. And shotgunned the parents, right? Bludgeoned them with shotguns. Killed the parents. And it's not like they're some, poor kids and whatever back then. No, they were rich. Lived in a high upscale neighborhood. But whatever it was, they plotted and shotgunned the parents, alright? Then, they've, done their time, 30 plus years, and supposedly they're like model prisoners and stuff like that. Like everything a prisoner should be, in terms of just being exemplary and all that other stuff. And so, they've been pushing for, especially now that California in the last, 10 years or so, they've gotten so soft on crime, so soft on prosecutions, so soft on everything, right? Early releases, the reimagining of what California prisons should be, and they're trying to come up with this sort of what they call a California model, which is modeled after Norway, which doesn't make any sense. That's a whole different topic to talk about, but in essence, Norway has this way of doing things that I guess impressed California enough that they wanted to model after Norway. The problem is their type of clientele has nothing to do with the type of clientele that California deals with, right? Like they don't have to deal with cartels and different sort of gangs and all that, and different sort of races as well as California deals with, as the United States has to deal with. And so it's a stretch to model after Norway, but that's what California is trying to do. Alright? But when you look at the type of prisoners that are in California prisons, you'll be scratching your heads as well. Alright? But all up and down California, especially in blue cities, which are like the big cities, LA, San Diego, Oakland, San Francisco. All the district attorneys are soft, super soft. So in LA, Gascon was the DA. And this goes always to the top. Like Gavin Newsom even actually considering trying to push for early release of the Menendez brothers. Alright, and that was the biggest thing that was trying to make a push for before the LA DA got recalled because he's trash. Alright, Gascon's trash. He came from San Francisco. He was mayor of San Francisco. That already explains everything, right? And so came to LA as a DA, and all these cities are backed by George Soros. George Soros funds all these different sort of ideology, such as, soft on crime, defunding police, community reform, and all these things that is creating more problems than what it's worth in California and across America, where George Soros funds these sort of causes. So, being that the Menendez brothers have been in prison for like 30 years now, and they've been model prisoners, Gascon tried to really push for early release of the Menendez brothers. But before any of that can come into play, he got recalled, and then from that, a new DA came in and looked at what was to be considered and said, nah, this is not going to be happening, alright? So, that's what was happening here. Yeah, so you can see all these things with the Menendez brothers. Alright. Wealth, betrayal, and murder, the true story of the Menendez brothers. Yeah, I mean, they lived in a wealthy family, And then in the more later years, they try to say that their dad was a molester and all that stuff. And it's like, come on, man. They just came up with sexual abuse. Fuck out of here. It's just something that they try to conjure up to be innocent and all that stuff. And it's like, get out of here. Alright. So, they're just desperate. That's all it is. Just try to find any sort of way to get themselves freed. There's just desperation to me to, out of nowhere, claim sexual abuse. Alright. So let's look at a couple news segments here. Alright. Just to kind of see where the thought is right now with the Menendez brothers. Alright, so this one is like a week ago. So let's take a look at this. Alright. This is News Nation. Laughed at me so News Nation tries to play it pretty fair down the middle. They're not trying to lean left. If anything, they're kind of like middle right, but they're kind of play things down the middle for the most part. That's what News Nation does.
When I used the pink salt trick, but after I dropped 6 pant sizes.
Joining us now is Tamara Goodall. She's a cousin of the Menendez brothers. Tamara, thanks so much for being with us.
She's a transplant from ABC.
Tell me why the family is so fervently opposed to having Nathan Hochman even now working.
Oh, so, by the way, Menendez brothers, if you ask me what I think, I don't care how much of a model prisoner they've been, and they've done so good and blah blah blah. I mean, what you got is what you got. So if you're locked up for life, you're locked up for life. All right. If you have the death penalty, then you got the death penalty. So if there was some sort of sentence, I don't know what the original sentencing was. But if it was like life without the possibility of parole, then there it is, right? You're lucky you guys didn't get the death penalty. Alright, so I don't have any sympathy And I don't care about them being released because they're so good now. If that's what you got sentenced, then that's what you got coming, right? Because these guys and prisons always believe, in general, that they always believe what they got coming. All right, so that's what I believe you got coming, is that you guys should be locked up for good. We don't need you guys in the streets.
Working on this case, or you want him recused, you want him removed.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth, for your time. I very much appreciate you. At this point, the treatment that we have received from Nathan Hochman has just been completely out.
Nathan Hochman, they're referring to, is the new DA in LA that replaced Gascon, because Gascon got recalled. So of course she's going to support the Menendez brother because she's a cousin, she's a family. So of course she's going to support it.
Of alignment with everything that the resentencing law and AB 600 and AB 88 all stand for. We are the family, and as the family, we are still victims. And so the bottom line here that I don't understand why he is not ever acknowledging is that as a family, we are multidimensional victims.
Right. Because members of your family were murdered and members of your family were convicted of those murders. And I know that one of the elderly members of the Menendez family was hospitalized after walking into court and seeing large, grisly photos of the crime scene.
Exactly. And
that they did.
And very honestly, Hochman's response and Balian's response of that we should have expected that to come out, it's not appropriate. It's unprofessional. It's completely unethical for the fact that in a resentencing hearing, this is about rehabilitation and their behavior and transformation during their time during incarceration. This is about post-conviction activities and behavior. And how were we as family to think that that would even be something that we should know to expect?
You have actually said that he's been, quote, hostile, dismissive, and patronizing toward you.
Oh, absolutely. I will just tell you in a one-on-one meeting that I had with him on January 3rd, it was really, really disappointing that an elected official who supposedly is there for the rights of victims very quickly dismissed anything I had to say about our concerns. And I initiated that one-on-one meeting because I wanted to give him context of why our family had fears of him being.
All right, so let's see. They got life in prison without the possibility of parole. All right, so done deal. Case closed. Look at that. Shotgun with the 12-gauge shotgun. Both parents. I mean, think about that. Shotgunning your parents. All right? Think about that. That is. I mean, you're just like destroying the body. All right. I mean, that's just mutilation when you shotgun the parents. Yeah, so let's see here, because they confessed to murders because they had a controlling father who had high standards. All right. And they were eligible for the death penalty, but they got lucky that they didn't get the death penalty. All right. So just saying. Yeah, see, George Gascon recommended a resentencing after reviewing the habeas corpus, but he got recalled in an election. Oh, I guess he didn't get recalled. He just lost in the election. Yeah, because Gascon's garbage. And then Nathan Hochman opposed the habeas petition and withdrew Gascon's resentencing recommendation, calling the brothers' self-defense claims lies. Yeah, so I guess the new claim was they were doing it in self-defense.
Of his ability to be impartial.
Get out of here, man.
When he had already shown
fuck out of here.
Some very suspicious bias attentions towards Kathy Katie and her client.
You listen. I've interviewed DA Hochman about this. He says he denies he's biased against Eric and Lyle Menendez, and he says he just simply wants Eric and Lyle to publicly admit to lying about how they planned the crime. He wants them to come clean with what he says are their lies. Let's take I think do we have that soundbite, control room? Let's play that so you can respond.
Okay.
Until they come clean, fully clean, with the full breadth of their lies, deceit, and their denials, they are not in a position to be trusted, to be fully rehabilitated, and continue to pose a risk to society of public safety.
Interesting perspective.
So if that's his position, and he's made that position twice now on my show, and he's said so publicly in a press conference, why don't Eric and Lyle just come out and issue a statement saying, yes, we did in fact lie about these parts of the crime, about it being premeditated. You know, we admit to all these things that we lied about, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, during the trial.
At this point, when we look at his list, his checklist, as he calls it, all of those details were actually discussed during the second trial. And honestly, as a family, one of the points that he has made repeatedly is that he wants Eric and Lyle to apologize to us as a family and come clean with what they have done. And I have to tell you, they have apologized to all of us multiple times, have said, we want to sit down with you. We want to answer your questions. They are willing to talk to us about it. They've never once denied or tried to scapegoat what actions they took. They have absolutely said, this is what we did. This is why we did it. Should there have been another outlet? Yes. At the same point, I don't know what else Hochman wants, because the things that he has asked of them to do on behalf of us, the victims, they have done. And they have.
I think he's talking more, not what he might have said, the brothers, Eric and Lyle, have said to you privately, but I think he wants to make a public statement because he did lie to police.
Dumbass bitch.
For many, many months. They staged an elaborate, scene at the murder scene. To make it look like a mob hit, and and lied about how they discovered their parents' bodies. I think that's what he's looking for. Bottom line, Tamara, Eric and Lyle. I mean, I remember doing the story. We were like, oh, they might be free for Thanksgiving or Christmas of last year. Things have definitely changed. Are they? Yes. When you speak to them, to Eric and Lyle, is hope waning for you and for them that they will eventually get out?
They're not going to get out.
Hope is not waning. It's just becoming further off into the distance. I will say, Eric and Lyle both are actually pillars of strength for us. Ironically,
Get out of here. I'm done with this. This is stupid. All right, they deserve to just stay locked up. That's it. All right, they showed that they're conniving. They lie. I didn't know. I don't know the full story of it, to be honest with you, because this is, when I was a kid during this time. I mean, I didn't know nothing about. I just know that they shotgunned the parents, but I didn't know they staged an elaborate plan to make it look like it was a hit and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, man, this is some crazy crap. And then they didn't want to come clean about it. Then they tried to say it was self-defense. And then they tried to say that dad was a sexual abuser. Get the fuck out of here, man. They're just desperate. So screw these guys. They should just stay locked up. All right, let's see what Judge Judy has to say. Because I know she's tough on everything, So let's see what she has to say about it. I say what she says stands. How about that?
They were convicted and sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. Now, the Menendez brothers, who claim they killed their parents in 1989 after a lifetime of abuse,
whatever Judge Judy says stands.
Former Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon sensationally recommended resentencing.
They have been in prison for nearly 35 years. I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
It was all in response to a public outcry that was fueled in
bullshit,
part by a
man.
Netflix documentary on the case and the wildly popular Ryan Murphy series Monsters, which is a retelling of the true story. We asked Judy if she believed Monsters played a role in the decision.
It certainly was influenced by the Netflix drama series. Do I think that our court system, our system of jurisprudence, should be in any way tied to something that has a certain amount of reality and a certain amount of fantasy involved, that is an entertainment? Absolutely not. I don't think our justice system should have anything to do with entertainment.
Gascon said his office had been examining the case for over a year before Monsters came out, but he announced he decided to fast-track the case after the Netflix documentary. The Menendez brothers triggered an onslaught of new interest.
I don't remember the shot, but I remember the picture.
The decision could result in the brothers being released from prison within a year, but now that a new DA, Nathan Hochman, has been elected, the judge is giving him time to review the case.
I'm reading thousands of pages of confidential prison files, and I will be speaking to everybody who's ever touched the Menendez case in the DA's office.
Attorneys for Eric and Lyle recently filed requests for clemency, arguing they both were sexually assaulted by their father beginning at a young age. There was also a massive social media movement, with many believing the molestation claims would be treated more fairly if the trial were to happen today.
And he would fondle me, and he would ask me to do the same with him.
However, Judy, who presided over family court for more than a decade before we knew her as Judge Judy, feels differently. She points to the barbaric move Eric and Lyle made to ensure their mother was dead, a grisly scene that was dramatized in Monsters.
Nothing tough, Mom.
They made certain allegations against their father. They left the house and reloaded and shot their mother twice in the face. So, do I think they're going to be free? I don't know. If you're asking me whether I would, the answer is no.
Ooh, the judge.
There you go. I agree. Judge Judy, whatever she says stands, because, yeah, it's just ridiculous. See, I didn't know the full extent of it. I mean, they went back, reloaded, and shotgun their mom in the face. That's some bull. These guys are crazy. Desperate and crazy, man. Screw these guys. I wouldn't let them go at all. I'm going to have to hold off on Scott Peterson, man. I didn't know I was going to be talking about this whole thing for all this here. Yeah, so this is where it's at here. See if there's anything else here that's come up. I think there's more of a recent news update here. Let's see here. Any other ones that's more recent news? That one says 3 days ago. I'm going to go to that one. So 3 days ago. Let's see what NBCLA has to say.
We're also tracking more breaking new developments in the Menendez brothers' fight for freedom. NBC4's Eric Leonard is live in the newsroom. Eric, walk us through what you just uncovered.
Now, just back from the courthouse here, where the LA County District Attorney's Office says the defense's argument that the entire Office of Prosecutors ought to be kicked off the resentencing case is misguided. A new filing this afternoon says in the DA's office's position, there's no actual evidence of bias or a conflict of interest. This new filing from DA Nathan Hochman's office disputes each of the issues raised by the Menendez brothers' defense during a fiery hearing a couple weeks ago. The DA says defense attorney Mark Garrigus has conflated the idea of a conflict of interest with zealous advocacy. The DA writes, disagreeing with the opposing side is not a conflict of interest. It's just a disagreement. And the DA characterizes the request for the office's removal as desperate and drastic, and alleges it was made to distract from the core issues at the center of this resentencing. The brothers, of course, have been pushing for a reduced sentence, which would likely mean release on parole. Former LA County DA George Gascon supported their efforts. Hochman does not, and he unsuccessfully tried to stop the process a few weeks ago. Now, state law weighs in favor of reducing punishment for many convicted criminals, including murderers. Garrigus has asked the judge to remove the DA because he says Hochman has shown he and his employees can't be fair to the brothers. The judge is set to hold another hearing on all of this a week from today. Live in the newsroom, I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News. Back to you.
All right.
Fuck that, man. Let me see what they got to say. Garagos needs, yeah, Garagos is he's the, I think he's the attorney for the Pauly Class murder too, if I remember correctly. During that whole Pauly Class kidnapping in California. This was like a long time ago too. Garagos is garbage, man. Fuck him too. They want to remove Hawkman because they know he's not going to let them easy and go do all the things they want to do to keep those monsters there. The fact that they want him removed so they can get a judge who will possibly allow them to walk. Taxpayers should not be funding all these filings from Garagos. Garagos wants Scott Peterson free too. Yeah, so yeah, screw Garagos. The brothers look so gay. I mean, yeah. Garagos should be disbarred for trying to get all these convicted felons freed. I mean, what are you, man? A felon fighter? I mean, these guys, were punished for a reason, and so they should stay locked up. I mean, bottom line. But anyhow, I'm gonna have to hold off on Scott Peterson, since there's a Garagos connection, and plus I wanted to talk about Scott Peterson as well, since they're trying to push for something on that one as well. So we'll come back to that in another new segment or a new video content. So with that, what do you guys think? You guys think the Menendez brothers should go? They served 35 years and they're model prisoners, and they're so great. Should they be free, knowing what they've done to get locked up? Do you think they've been rehabilitated, or should they pay for what they've done? They got convicted 2 life sentences. You heard Judge Judy say 2 life sentences. All right, and is it better than the death penalty? They could have been death penalty right there, but they got lucky that they just served life. That's it. I didn't know that the DA tried to get this thing removed on the resentencing, but because the judge ruled that they can continue the effort, that's why this is still an ongoing talk. So there you go. But my opinion is that nah, they gotta keep them locked up. I mean, what is this place, man? Like soft on America. Let's let prisoners go free. Let illegals come in through the borders. Defund police so crime can run rampant. I mean, none of this makes any sense, So, I mean, whatever happened to good old, if you did the crime, you do the time, right? I mean, that's what it is. So if you got convicted for a life sentence and it says no parole, then there you go. That's what you get. All right, maybe next time don't shotgun your parents. Anyhow, comment down below, let me know what you think, subscribe, and follow me whether you're on YouTube or Rumble. Thanks, I'll see you next one.